Hello and welcome to Power Drift. Today we are talking about riding gear again, and this time the focus is on pants. This series has already covered why you should wear riding gear, what kind of jackets you should be buying, why base layers are so important, and what kind of gloves you need. Obviously, the next thing we're going to talk about is boots. Stay tuned for that, but today the focus is on pants, and the reason why we're focusing on pants now is because it's usually the last thing you buy to complete your set of gear. This is true for all of us, more or less, including me. And in the beginning of my career, I didn't have access to riding pants at all, and I can trace all the damage I have on my knees. It's not a lot, but there is some. All that damage has come from the time before I had riding pants. So they are important. So where should we begin? Let's begin at the beginning, and that would be at jeans. Most of us automatically go straight to jeans when it comes time to ride a motorcycle, and there's nothing better available. Well, the problem is jeans are made of cotton, and as we talked about in the jacket segment, cotton, it's not very good for you. Under abrasion or under tension, cotton simply fails. That means when you're falling down the road and sliding along it, the road will eat away at the cotton really, really fast. And also, this produces a stretch on the fabric, which also it cannot handle. So jeans, they're good for walking around, they're good for sitting on your knees, they're good for going to office with if your office is that kind of casual, but unfortunately on a motorcycle they're just a problem. So what do? Well, most people would say at this point saying, look, I still need to fit into society, as it were, and therefore I should be buying riding jeans with impregnated fabrics or materials or threads or a Kevlar lining, which allow you to absorb more of the abrasion injuries. Well, it's true, they are better than jeans. Unfortunately for me, in my experience, they don't actually work as well as the logic does, because India is a much hotter country than where these jeans were invented. Now, I did buy a pair of Speedy Furious jeans. There was a company that was going out of business or something like that, and they were down to 8,000 rupees, which is, if you look at it, effectively the price of a designer denim at a Diwali sale or something like that. So I said, okay, let's get it. And the moment I started trying to wear it to office in Pune, I realized that it's uncomfortable because it's heavier than a normal denim. It breathes a lot less than regular denim, and therefore the delta in comfort is actually not good for it. I was just happier to be wearing riding pants. And when you look at protection, it's still made of cotton, which means it's not as strong as a riding pant can be, although I have to give Speedy props because the pant was comprehensive. The knee armor was nice, comprehensive, large and CE certified, as was the hip armor. But unfortunately, it was so uncomfortable that after using it a few times, I've actually used it only when my riding pants are wet from the last wash or something like that. That brings me to the point that I'm trying to make here, which is what you should be looking at is riding pants, not even knee protectors on jeans or on riding jeans, because knee protectors are simply extremely uncomfortable to ride with. Dealing with the elastics and the straps, I don't even know why you'd want that aggravation in your life, unless of course budget was the issue. So riding pants, what are the biggest advantages of riding pants? Well, first, in terms of use, you slip them on, close off the zipper, etc. And now you're protected because most riding pants, even the basic ones, have knee armor. And it's very hard to get uncertified knee armor today, so it'll at least be CE level 1. A slightly more expensive pant will also add hip armor, which means the two impact areas that you're usually going to encounter, which is the front of your shin, the front of your knees, and the side of your hip, all have armor over them, and that's a huge win. The pant itself is made of something like nylon, which is abrasion resistant and good with tension, which means when you're falling down the road, all of the pant is able to handle the abrasion that the road is putting out and trying to get to your skin. Chances are you won't get road rash. It also is designed to connect well with your boots, with your jacket. That means it should have a zipper that allows you to connect it to the jacket. If you do use that zipper, it's an important part of your crash protection. Most good pants will allow you to adjust the bottom of the pant in terms of volume so that it's not a large flappy thing and it closes around the boot. Closing around the boot also means that if the pant is being pulled up, it can't escape from the boot and expose your shin. This is the time when you'd also want to see how much is the overlap between the armor on the shin and the top of your boot. The more overlap there is, the better protected you are, and this is one of the reasons we'll talk about in detail in the boot section, but this is one of the reasons why I'm not a fan of mid-height or shorty boots. I would just rather wear a full-size boot. Now, riding pants, the basic idea of purchasing is very, very similar to a jacket. You're looking for something that won't flap around, sits nicely next to your skin. The armor shouldn't be able to move too easily so that when you crash, the armor remains in place. And most pants will also allow the armor to move up and down a little bit to adjust its position. But the important difference between jackets and pants is that you're very, very sensitive to ventilation on a jacket, but not so sensitive on a pant, which means your ability to buy a pant without ventilation is actually far superior to that of a jacket. The example that I like to give here is if you look at your hands when you're you're riding in the cold, they get numb. And it's not just the fact that the cold wind is hitting them, it's also the fact that your body is pulling warm blood away from your hands so it can stabilize your torso, where thermal control is a lot more vital than at your hands in that kind of a situation. In the same way, your legs are a lot less sensitive to temperature, and that's why when it comes to a really cold place, you probably get on a big heavy jacket, but you may still be wearing denims underneath them. And in the same way, when it gets really hot, you will be fanning yourself and worrying about your shirt. Very few people will take off their pants because they're so hot, because your legs are just less sensitive. And that means whether they are extremely well ventilated or not, most pants do actually work in our weather. A very well ventilated pant might produce a small benefit amount of sweating and discomfort, but the delta is not actually that much. My Dainese D-Explorer Gore-Tex pants are top of the line pants, so they are expensive and they have large mesh panels on top of the thighs, which is usually where the ventilation is placed. But I have ridden for days together not noticing that they aren't open, and honestly it doesn't make that much of a difference. So, should you buy ventilated pants? Ideally, yes. Is that a deal breaker? In my experience, not so much. If you're wearing a base layer and you're wearing an unventilated pant, most of the time you'll be just fine. Okay, now let's talk about how to buy the pant itself, and that starts with the budget. We said 8 to 10,000 rupees is a reasonable budget for a jacket. Pants are a little bit more expensive, so add about 2,000 rupees to that maximum. So I would say 10 to 12,000 rupees you should have an entry-level pant. The brand that I'm familiar with, there are other brands in this area which I have never seen or used, so I don't know about them. The brand I'm familiar with is Rhinox. Be careful with Rhinox. Sometimes when they do the waist, they don't put enough material just below the waist belt, which means that when you close the zip, it doesn't close at the top. So if you're wide in the hip, you don't want to buy Rhinox online. You do want to try one of their pants out before you do. The other brand that I forgot to mention in the jacket and glove video is Ixon, which is a French brand. They do sponsor some MotoGP riders, but they're basically an economy brand. Performance Racing, who distribute RI in India, also distribute Ixon. It's a French brand, which means part of this or the entire thing will have C certifications also, which is an added advantage. The prices aren't too high, but if you're looking for a wide range of pants, the budget that you want to bring to the table is between 15 to 18,000 rupees. That's where a really large choice of pants exists. Then of course, the amount of brands you have, international and domestic, also increases quite a bit. What I prefer to do as usual is save up money, buy expensive but buy top of the line, so that I'm guaranteed to have all the features, all the protection and all the research that has happened in that area up to that minute. And like I said, the Dainese pants I use there, I think 25 or 30,000 rupee pants, but I'm on pant 3 of those because I wore out the first one in that crash. I literally wore out the second one. It's fine, but it's got a small tear in it because there was a nail in a wall which I didn't see. And now there's the third pant that I'm using, and if I were given the choice, I'd buy a fourth one as well. That's the thing about riding pants. They're extremely comfortable to use. You'd be surprised at how easy it is. If you wear a basic black one, it actually blends into society quite neatly. They do make the riding experience much better, and they are far better for you in a crash. So don't take the shortcut. Get the knee armor over your denim if that's all you can afford right now, but aim for something better. And I'm telling you honestly, riding jeans is not a solution. What you want are custom designed riding pants for motorcycling. When they fit you, the materials are right and the budget is right, there's nothing else quite like it. Well, thank you so much for watching. This was our episode on riding pants. We've already talked about jackets, base layers, gloves, and why you should be wearing riding gear at all. We're going to hit boots, helmets next. Stay tuned. Thank you so much for watching. This is Power Drift at home. Remember, Mumbai, Pune, where we are, is still under lockdown. That's why we are still inside. You might be in a place where you're able to go out. Remember to be part of the solution and not the problem. So don't be silly. Take precautions. Be protected. Be good to people around you. This is COVID-19. We are fighting this together. Thank you so much for watching. This is Power Drift at home.